can create. You can't create multiple resources out of that. To get the link, so there is a learning activities which you will be present as part of certification courses. So there we can try to get the sandbox activation. So if we go here, this is different. Okay, so this option has been removed. Let me recheck and let you know. So because these exercises when we used to do, so I used to directly get the sandbox access wherein I can activate the sandbox. I can work on that sandbox itself. I'll just recheck on that and I'll just explain you. Yeah, fine. Yeah, so yesterday and all we had discussed about uh, the course structure itself and also the basic content about the basic AI services, how exactly we can try to go out with the Azure and how to create the services as such. And today we are going to, and what is the difference between the AI, ML, and deep learning, how exactly they are going to, they are interdependent. Along with that, we discussed in detail about this services like the Azure services which are all there, like computer vision, where exactly we are going to use it, the application areas, and NLP services, and also the different NLP services which we'll be getting, and document intelligence and the knowledge mining services. Along with that, we discussed about the GenAI services as well. So let us go. Fine. So today we are going to continue about like if we get we are going to discuss a few things like related to the services that we are going to work on. I think still you are finding that voice issue. Hello, am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I can
Yeah.
hear.
Thank you. Thank you guys for the confirmation. Fine. So let us start. Okay. So let's assume, like the first thing we have to discuss, what is the actual difference between the, so the software testing and the AI testing that we are going to do. So we'll just take few concepts and which we are going to compare and we are going to discuss in today's session. And also we'll try to play around with a few Azure concepts, basic concepts before we'll start into the pipeline setup and all. So tomorrow's session, we are going to create the ML pipeline and we are going to discuss about that. So before to start with the actual ML pipeline creation, how exactly the basic AI concepts, Azure concepts, the cloud concept you should be aware of. So that one I'll be briefing you. Okay. So let us start with today's concept. Okay. So we'll just take some scenario based examples, how exactly it is going to help. Like, yeah. So software testing and then the AI testing. So here, so if I wanted to compare these two, the first thing whenever we are doing the AI testing, when exactly we have to do, and when exactly we're going to do with the software testing. Okay. So for this, like we know that whenever we are going to get the traditional application, like via the web application, it might be a standalone application client server architecture, whatever the business flow, the logic which it has been developed. So on top of that logic which they had been developed, we are going to do the validations. So all the logics as expected working or not, we'll be doing it. Here we are going to basically check on the basic system workflow as defined is working or not. Like we'll be getting the business requirement. So based on the business requirement, so against the business requirement, we are going to evaluate and we'll make sure as part of the business requirement, my application is working or not. So when it comes to the AI, so this is basically AI is been going to be trained and it will be working on the data that we are going to train. So that via the data we are going to train this AI model. So for that model, we have to evaluate that model, means we need to test that particular model whether that model is been trained as expected or not. Okay, so here we are going to evaluate the trained model so that in the actual in different circumstances, like whenever we change the data at that circumstances, that model is working as expected. Like example, like we can take the example of weather forecasting. Okay, so or else detecting the sales rate in my business for today, how much I can expect based on the condition. So here, if it has to predict, if I'm running a business, it has to predict the sales rate. Okay, so during that time, what exactly my AI service, how it is going to work, we are going to train this AI model to predict the percentage of the sales, like 50%, 60%. So we are going to get around 100% of the sales. So here, what exactly it's going to do is whatever the previously trained data is there. So with that, it is going to predict. So after predicting that, there are different algorithms which we are going to use to do this calculation. So based on that, once the prediction is done, it is going to give the prediction like, okay, today you're going to get the 60% of the sales. So here, when I'm going to do the testing. So here the testing means we have to evaluate whether that particular model's prediction is correct or not. Okay, whether the results it is being provided is properly it is displaying or not. We have to test it. Okay, so that we can say that whether it is going to be a expected or not. And so when we are dealing with the actual applications like normal IT applications when we are using. So we are going to prepare certain kind of the test data. With this test data which we are going to do, we will be testing it and we'll be having the expected outcome. Okay, like example, if my application is going to do the calculation, so I can take any values. Like if I take the test data, I'll be ready with my test data. Like I say, okay, I'm going to test for 10 plus 20. At that time we know the expected outcome, so this has to return the 30 as the expected outcome. So this is how we are going to predict the outcome. Means we'll be knowing the input, and also we know the expected outcome, how my model, how my application is going to return the result. But when we are doing this model, uh, we will be knowing the test data, but so outcome which we are going to get, it is not exactly same as what exactly we are expecting. This is like a, it is based on the different inputs that we are going to give. The expected outcome, we are not able to predict it. Okay. So we'll be having a rough understanding, but we'll be not knowing the exact data over here. Okay. So here we can say probably probabilistic data will be knowing. So not exactly what, like example here we know clearly 30 we are going to get. But when we are testing the AI model, that will be not having the exact data. So then when we are trying to do the uh, testing with the web application, so at that time we to test that what exactly we're going to do, yeah, we're going to set up with the test data. Along with that, we're going to set up our test script. So like I can say test cases we are going to prepare, and then test scripts we'll be writing to do this testing. But in the same way, when we have to do the evaluation of the trained model, there are certain metrics which are present in the analysis of this data. Like if you have to evaluate the trained model, so for that, we'll be using internally the metrics to evaluate the data. Okay, so there are example, we say precision will be having an F1 score, and also we'll be having a recall. These are the methods, these are the metrics which we'll be using to validate the model that it has, we are that model we are going to test it. See, this is like internally each and every model which you are going to create. So we are going to test that model first, the train data. Like if you are going to test any kind of the AI model, as I told, data is like a fuel. So with this data, it is always recommended we are going to split that into 70 and 30. So it's like whatever the 70% of the data will be used it for the training the model, and 30% of the data will return. So that data we are not going to use it at the beginning only. So that 30% of the data which is there, that we are going to use it while doing the actual testing of that trained model. Okay, so this when we are with this 30% of the data, when we are trying to test this model testing, at that time if there is any issues, okay, or if whatever the prediction we will be expect, this is going to give the score based on the model performance. If the score is not as expected, at that time we have to retrain on the data, we need to recheck on the data that we had been updated. So in that way, so for evaluating the metrics, evaluating the models, we'll be using certain metrics. So based on that metrics, we'll just verify whether that particular model is going to give the expected outcome or not. Okay. So here when we are that is where, so as we know clear picture outcome, so when I'm going to evaluate these models, okay, we'll be doing this outcome. Like so whenever I'm doing the results, whenever I'm going to check, so we'll be having, we are going to write down it's pass or fail. My test case got passed, my test case got failed. So that is how we have to predict the outcome, means end results we used to say. But so whenever we are going to test the model, definitely we are not able to say that okay, this model has been passed or this model has been failed. So we are going to evaluate whether 90% of the data it is giving as expected or not. Okay, so if not, how exactly we have to improvise, we have to think it like percentage wise we are going to evaluate the accuracy of the model which it is going to give. So we are going to check here the results in the form of accuracy. So each organizations will be having the accuracy rate. Like example, at the beginning it might be 50% accurate, and going further will be keep trying to improvise the accuracy of the model as per the company standards, whichever we'll be getting. Okay. Then So whenever we are going to do the actual testing, okay, web application testing, so we'll be having a different testing criteria. Like we are going to do the sanity, and we are going to do the regression testing and automation testing, performance testing, security testing. So like that, we'll be having a different testing types we are going to do. Okay, like functional testing, regression testing, security testing. Okay, and like we are going to have the like ad hoc testing. All these things we are going to play around. But when we have to do about the model, so when we'll be having, so here we'll be doing the uh, we are going to do different validations checks. So like kind of mainly on the data validations we are going to do, like whether all the data it's having is whatever the data that we are getting is as expected or not. We'll be doing the data integrity, and also we are going to check the is the model bias, and we'll be checking the fairness, whether like when we are testing the model for different aspects. Like example, there is certain responsible AI principles are there. So as part of that principles, our model built or not, that is also we have to have it. Like uh, so when we say responsible AI principles, like we are going to have the, it has to be transparent, it should maintain the privacy also, and the responsible person should means there should be the accountability has to be taken by certain member who has developing this organization, and also it should be fair to all the people, and it is not going to do any kind of the gender bias. Like that means bias it should not do based on different criterias, like it might be because like example, uh, based on any categories or based on any disability. So it should not able to uh, restrict the usage of the model. Like example, if I'm developing a particular model, so we have to check whether a blind person also can able to use that application without any restrictions or not, like that. So it should be equal equally usable to every member, and also give the same kind of a outcome without any bias. Like that, there are certain principles we have to verify before that model's deployment, so that also we have to make sure by when we are doing the model testing. So then whenever we are going to have the like test data, if whatever we are using, so this test data type is always static. Okay, we know the exact test data which I am going to test it. Like example, the login credentials which I am going to use it. Okay, or else we have to give certain text field areas address, like that. So these test data will be accurately will be knowing. And so whenever we are going to create the data for doing the AI model setting, it is like a dynamic. So this is not always same, okay? Because we have to create different types of the data sets, and we have to play with that particular data, whether the outcome is same in that, like performance. So as we told metrics, we are going to see that metrics score is as expected or not. We have to do it, okay? And also we can do the when we have to do the automation. Okay, if I'm going to do the automation, so we know there are multiple automation tools like coding tools which are there. Like example, we can do selenium, like playwright, and also qtp. There are multiple tools which are present in the market, so we can try to use any automation tools here. And if we wanted to do the API testing, so we can try to use the Postman, and do the performance testing, we can do the Jmeter. These are the tools that we can use. So here, so when we have to do the model automation, so there are so for the model automation process with different phases, we'll be using the different tools for automating this. So some of the tools are like TensorFlow, and also we can try to use the PyTest plus ML flow also. So we can use the Longsmith, TrueLens. So these are like we'll be using it as a framework to test the LLM models which we are going to get it. Like, so whatever that LLM models that we'll be having, so for them to make it automate, to make the process automation, so we can try to use this particular dashboards to get the outcomes as well. Like there are multiple tools at different phases, like to to automate the ML pipelines and test it, data integrity and all. We have a different tool, and to do the to do at the LLM level, we have the different tools. Like that we are going to have a different, we'll be using multiple different tools to test the AI models which we are going to work on. Okay. And also will be, whenever we get a defect, okay, let's assume that we got a defect. So at that time, whenever we get a defect, what is the way that we are going to handle? So it basically, when we say the defect here in the IT, so we know, like there is a functionality issue, like whatever the expected value we are expecting, that is not coming, even though it comes approximately also. Like example, 10 plus 30, 10 plus 20, 30 I have to get. Even though 30.5 or 30.00 or 30.01, if we get, we don't accept it. Correct. Like we are going to expect a exact outcome. So based on the logic, like we'll be deciding based on the code or the logic as expected when it is not there. So that we are going to consider as a bug. But when we'll be using the AI testing, so at that time we are going to, whenever there is a issue, so when we can say there is an issue, so whatever this accuracy that we are expecting from this model, let's assume my team is going to get the expecting the accuracy of, so less than or equal to 80%, but my accuracy is getting at 70%. So this is not the acceptable. Okay, this we can consider as a area where exactly we have to improvise. So for that, what exactly the team has to do? So here team has to rework on the logic. Okay, so our team has to, whenever there is a bug or defect, so here they has to rework on the logic, how exact, why exactly it is not coming as expected. But here when we are doing the AI testing, so here, so we, when we get a poor quality, so it's definitely because of the issues with the model. What exactly the team have to do is, so they has to do the, again they has to check the um, data quality. So recheck the data, and then again train with valid data, and then test till the accuracy gets improved. Okay, so this is what, this is how the issues will be rectified when we are doing the AI model. And also whenever, like whenever we'll be having these models, whenever we'll be having, so we have to do the monitoring. Like example, when we have a web applications, so once the all the functional testing is done, what exactly we are going to do is, so we are going to, we are done with the functional testing. So what exactly we are going to do is, we are going to deploy that model into the actual production environment. But here, when we are going to do the AI models, so here first, as soon as we're done with the training, we are going to deploy that models only. So that models will be working, but what exactly we are going to do is, we'll be continuously evaluating these models on the different criteria as well. Like, so whether it is like, as we will be keep doing the regression testing and all, so these models will be keep validated by with the different test data. So as expected, these particular models are working or not, or any area there are, if there are chances for the breaking the bias or not, we are going to do that. Okay, so here, so these are the different like on a high level. Okay, so different ways how exactly we can try to use the AI models. So let's assume we'll take some simple examples. So in our organization, so we got one of the web application. So web application. So in into that web application, so we got one chatbot which has been incorporated. So when we say chatbot, it's like a so if the chatbot application if you're developing, it's like a Q&A maker. So here in the back end, okay. So these are some of the high level differences. How exactly it's different little bit there is a difference between the AI testing and the whatever we say the web application testing. So how the difference, what are the areas that we have to focus on while evaluating the model? So how the particular stage by stage evaluation will be having. So this is one small idea you will be getting it. Okay. So here, okay, so we are going to do the AI testing only. But in the AI testing, how exactly we can proceed with once we are going to work on that particular AI testing. So let's assume we are going to there is a incorporation of the chatbot into our application. So when the chatbot application has been developed inside our application, so at that time we have to do the testing of that application. Okay. Or else we can take any kind of a business scenarios. Like let's assume like we have a one AI application which we had developed. So like AI service which we had developed, it is going to do the whenever there is a spam emails are present, it's going to filter that clear that particular spam emails. Okay. So during that time, we have to test that functionality. Okay. So what will be the approach that we have to test it? So for this, any kind of the model when it is comes, okay. So there, as we discussed, so there is a both like we'll be having a manual way of testing that particular model also, and we can try to use certain automated applications to like automated tools to test that scenarios as well. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay. So first, okay, let's assume that we will be having a Q&A maker. So what exactly that I'm going to do with a Q&A maker is it's going to give the like kind of whatever the Q&A maker or chatbot, any application which is there. So we'll be having a backend architecture. Okay, we have to know the backend architecture of that particular model. So there are different approaches which we'll be using for this development. From the UI, we can see the UI application. So as part of this UI application which we are going to do, so we are going to do the functional validation of that particular application, whether it is working as expected or not. Like with basic data, first we can try to say that like if it is going to delete this particular messages which are there, okay, after every 1 hour, if we make this process automated at that time, so whenever we are testing, first thing we have to consider whether it is going to get the it is able to retrieve the messages which are coming to that particular folder or not. Then we have to check whether it is going to delete that particular messages or not. And again, after deleting, what exactly the when exactly it is deleted, like summary of the task it has performed, it has to store. Okay, like what are the basic functionalities it is going to do. So we are going to test that, okay, whether it is able to figure out the message that is present in the spam folder. After that, whether it is going to delete that particular spam folder or not, and then whether it is able to have a logs of that particular deletion or not. Okay, so that these are the major functionalities when we are doing it. And so if we have to test this particular functionality manually, Okay, let's assume that I got this particular application. I have to test it. Okay, so to test it manually first, manually in the sense we are going to test this AI service, okay, based on the functionality of that particular service, what exactly it's going to do. So for that, first thing, I can create a different scenarios, how exactly I can do, so that I can make sure that whenever I'm going to test it, I have to test at the pipeline level first. Okay. Like whenever it is going to trigger this particular pipeline, so that particular messages it is going to read or not. Okay. So if it is able to get that pipeline data, then only it can get the check the instruction and delete it. So then whether with different intervals by deleting it, I can make sure as expected the data is going to be deleted or not. And also in the same way, parallelly the reports are going to generate it or not. So these one we can give the we can try to have the send make the spam emails to be generated after every 1 hour intervals, and after deleting immediately it has to generate and make sure uh, immediately it is going to delete, or else it is going to do at the scheduled intervals. And also as soon as the time span, different time spans we can try to make sure, and different types of the files we can try to trigger, and we can make sure whether it can able to read that kind of a file with different names also we can make sure. So like there are certain kinds of the scenarios we can check it, and we can make sure whether it is getting or not. And basically when it has to store the logs and all, this can be, so to store the logs and all, we might use any logger applications, or else we can use the DB also. So in the DB, each time when it is deleted, so we can do the architecture. So let's assume that the architecture has been in the DB, all the data it's going to store. So we can make sure by verifying in the DB, the data is going to be present or not. Like if we can take the chatbot also, we can check the UI functionality, like whether you are able to ask or text field which are all there, how interval it is going to allow you text field, whether for that text field follow up questions are displaying or not. And so when you search it, context based search it is enabled or not. Okay, so like that. And also there is delete, or there is a copy, so there is a like, dislike. So there are multiple functionalities which will be displaying at the UI level. So whether all these functionalities are coming or not, you can verify. And after that, so as in the DB, we'll be having a data storage. So whenever this data storage is present, you can verify the all the data which is going to be stored. If if it is stored, okay, certain it depends on the requirement. Certain times we can have the backend data, few times we'll be not having a backend data. But whenever there is a data storage, like each each questions which are being asked, like we can store it in the form of questions that they are asked. So what is a question? Okay, so after question, so like kind of who asked that question and what is the response, okay, whether it is able to respond or not. Okay, because based on this response, certain times when we have not feeded certain data, it has to respond as sorry, I don't know the answer for these questions, or can you please ask a specific business question. So in that way, when it is responding or sorry, I don't know, there are certain when it is not able to answer, we will be feeding the bot services to throw certain error notifications are not fetchable notification. So if you're getting that, it means that it's not responded. And also to get the user feedback also, we can have the like, dislike messages also, dislike notifications also. Via this we can calculate how much it is able to respond to the user. And in the same way, in the backend when we are saying it, we might have been stored certain data. Okay, like example, we might be using OpenAI also to get the response. So like we can try to use the different ChatGPT models. If it is a ChatGPT, so if it is Q&A maker, we are going to store the question and answers explicitly. But if we are using any kind of the ChatGPT models if you are using. So here we can use the OpenAI. So by using the OpenAI, like we can to store the data also, like we can directly store from the like wiki pages also. And here all, or else we can try to have the we can use the storage account, means Azure AI search is also one more service where exactly it can try to get the response from the storage account data which has been stored also. So there are like different ways we can, there is a backend architecture. So if we know that, okay, what exactly the data has been stored, okay, we can define that the data we are expecting should come from only from this particular blob storage document which it is present. So at that time, what exactly we can make it is, so we can try to make sure we can frame different prompts, and we can make sure only for that prompts the response is we are going to get the response. Okay, if not, we are not going, we can ask different types of the questions which we are going to get ask for that bot service. If it is not able to give the response, so we should get it as no response or ask specific questions, so like that we can try to get it. So like, so we should, what exactly we can do is, we have to understand the architecture and what are all the areas, like we have to do the functionality and we have to do the data check and the data storage and validations, which are all we have to do. So we, and also from the security perspective also we have to do. And apart from that, we can make sure here whenever we are getting this, we are going to frame the questions and we are going to get the response. So here where the major core of the testing relies. So here when you are testing, we have to make sure whether it is going to fetch the relevant data or not. Okay, so if it is not fetching any relevant data, so that major core functionality itself not working. And then we have to make sure whatever the data that is getting, so whether it is accurate or not. So sometimes we'll be, it is going to get data but it's not going to display in the specified manner. Okay, and it's going to have the like we have to incorporate whether it is readability has been included or not. Like example, I had been developed a model, but it is getting the data, it is fetching the response, but it is having more grammatical information like unstructured data which I'm not able to read and understand. There is no meaning for that sentence. So it should not be like that. So we have to consider the readability of the response that we are getting also. And one more thing, compression. So here sometimes let's assume, okay, I asked one question, but so in this particular document which had been specified, there is like a much content is there. So at that time, it's not I don't want in that page level content. So even it can, we can try to modify the response, the way we have to get the responses by using different AI tools. So like we have to make sure from our end, from the testing perspective, whether the data compression is happening or not as well. Okay, so like that we can consider these these validations when we are evaluating the model manually. And also we have to make sure we had been validated from the different aspects of the model, like functionality end, back end, and the model accuracy and also we had been evaluated. Okay, and in the same way we can take certain edge case scenarios also, like a long time we are going to make the spam messages to not display, or continuously, like we are going to, for a long time we are not going to showcase any kind of the spam, or we can try to get get that present, or before it is going to retrieve we are going to delete it manually. At that time, how exactly it's going to handle it. So means we can simulate different scenarios when we are testing, like let the spam email come, as soon as it come, just disconnect the internet. There are like, so at that time how exactly it's going to, whether it is able to fetch the data and delete it. Like we can think certain out of the box scenarios also. See, all about I'm talking is the when you have a manual understanding how exactly the scenarios you can define to do the testing of the AI models. Okay. And also, like as I already told you, you can have the different names for the spam emails and get it settled and repeatedly, so that you can test from the performance end also. Repeatedly try to get send an emails. So at that time, how exactly it's going to behave, we can make sure that also. And also, like try to send certain spam mails which are not present in English, like different language. At that time, whether this model is able to rectify that email and delete it or not. Okay, so these are certain loop areas where exactly my model can working or not, we can try to understand it. Okay, so that we can test these models from the performance end also. Like we can, as we already discussed, so when we have more than expected emails within that 1 hour time, so how much time it is going to take? Let's assume like there are like almost 10,000 spam mails, so within 1 hour. Okay, at that time, how much time it is going to take? So time, how much it is going to take to delete that, and at that, before it delete, whether it is going to create a summary of all the mails in the DB or not. And in the same time, whether what exactly the CPU and memory utilization at that time when it is going to do the have that emails and deletion, when it is going to perform at that time. Okay. And is there is like as continuously it is getting the mails and able it is going to be retrieved and get the summary and going to delete it. So any error we are going to get or not, error sequences we are going to see or not, we have to verify. So that different perspectives we can think of, and we can try to work on that particular models. Okay. And so if we have to do the same thing on the automation, let's assume that, so I got this particular model and I wanted to automate this model. So during that time, so basically as we already discussed, so here we are going to uh, so we wanted to do the use the automated automation tools also in this particular testing. So at that time, we can try to use certain Gen AI, like AI models also for the testing purpose. Here, mainly we'll be using this model for the metrics analysis, like accuracy is as expected it is displaying or not. It's not for the functionality. So as I already told, like if you have to evaluate, like example, if I take the chatbot, right? So if you have to evaluate the functionality, you can use the basic automation tool itself. Like you can write your scripts to validate that particular UI functionalities directly. But let's assume you have to evaluate these. Okay, you want to make sure whether relevant information, when you ask a question, whether it is retrieving the relevant information. And if you ask 50 questions, like example, 50 questions if you ask at a time, whether it is able to fetch that expected response or not. Okay. And with whatever the response it is giving, all those responses are accurate or not. So when you have to evaluate these qualitative metrics, I can say, like uh, the expected response we are getting or not, to evaluate that we can try to use certain framework, I mean certain tools, AI tools which are required for different validation purpose. So in that way, if I have to validate like whether that particular uh, whatever the model that we are using, he's having a like valid data or not, like I can say accuracy it is present or not. So let's assume like it's going to like based on the whatever the summary it is going to give, like the response whatever we are going to get based on that. So whatever we are getting, and certain references, like whatever the document that it's having, in that what exactly it is present. So in that way, if I have to compare the accuracy, so we have to evaluate the model which we had been created. So for that, one of the tools that we can use is the Hugging Face. So and in the same way, we can try to get the semantic score. Okay, like each and every data which we are going to get is present as expected or not. Okay, so we can say that semantic similarity. So with this, we can try to use certain uh, tools like bird score, and also we can try to so we can try to use the GPT tool also to evaluate this score, like whether the accuracy is matching or not. So in that way, we can try to use to evaluate the exact accuracy also. So for that, we can use the Langsmith as the tool, or also we can use the TrueLens also. So in the same way, like whether it is maintaining the factual consistency or not. Like example, if it's like exactly whatever it is there in the document, so whether it is getting or only it is going to give on its own answer, own response. So for that also we can try to use the uh, rag evaluation also, ragas tool also we can try to use, or in that case we can use the true lens also. So these tools make sure whether it is going to give the uh, accurate result or it is going to have its own imagination or not, like factual consistency to get it. So these tools which are all we are talking, so they'll be having its own, like we are not going to do the scripting and all here. So these are kind of a dashboard based applications, and few we can try to integrate into our uh, automation also. Based on that we can try to design based on our requirement to validate. Okay, so accordingly get the we can try to get the outcome from this particular model by doing the comparison. Okay, so in the same way, we can try to use other templates also, like we can do continuously to do the regression testing of this particular model. So there are different models will be there, so we can try to check based on the different model versions also. uh, so what exactly, like example GPT models when we are using, so we can try to use different models, how exactly they're going to give the outcome, accuracy comparison and all. Accordingly we can try to use the different models also. So in the same way, if we wanted to do this, whatever these particular models are present, so we can try to use the different tools, and we can and before we use the automation tools, we should be clear about our requirement. So based on our requirement, what exactly I wanted to test with this model, so based on that only we have to select the tool for automating it. As I already told, like if it is like a only the UI functionality check, I'm going to do that. So at that time, I no need to go with any automation tool. So we just can use our regular automation tools itself. Okay. If not, at that time, so if I have to evaluate the accuracy and all, so then there is at different stages we'll be having a different platforms. So we can try to use that particular platforms. Like example, let's assume I wanted to do the model monitoring, like continuously once it is deployed into the actual environment. So I just wanted to keep changing the data, and I wanted to perform the model consistency and all. So at that time, we can use different AI tools for that particular models. And also certain times we have to do the simulation test on that particular model. Like continue, like whenever we are just, I wanted to create a simulation of that model and do the evaluation of the data. So for that, we'll be having a different model, and these models which we had been developed, so we can even create a CI/CD pipelines also for these models. So like based on different model versions changing. So at that time, we wanted to automatically deploy the new versions like that. So for that, Also we'll be using different tools like Jenkins, GitHub Actions also we can use. So these are normal DevOps also will be using this Jenkins and the GitHub Actions and even Azure pipelines. So apart from that, we can use like Airflow and Prefect. These are the tools also we can try to use it. Okay. Yeah, fine. I'll stop it. Yeah. Before I'll go into the next concept for the next session, what I was talking. So as I told, I just wanted to give you a brief understanding about this Azure portal. So here, as part of the portal, okay, so you have to have the basic knowledge about this portal which you're going to have. So as part of this portal, what exactly you're going to do is let us create a like I just wanted you to whenever we are creating, so there is a concept called subscription. So this subscription is like a actual subscription that you're going to take from the Azure end. So this subscription, the first 1 month, who are all going to create a account now, so they will be having the uh, 1 month free, as I already told. After that, you have to move to the subscription. It is recommended to go pay as you go. Okay, so it's like whatever the resources that you're going to utilize, for that only you have to pay, not for the other resources. Okay, and if your resources are running for 1 hour, we have to pay for that. And then under subscription, if I wanted to create any resources, first we have to create a resource group. See, this subscription basically will be creating for the billing purpose, like to understand how much resources that you're going to use it for, that purpose we'll be using it. And when we say resource groups, so here, so as part of the resource group, we are going to have here, we have to understand the like this is for the like easily to department wise for the segregation at the organization level. Let's assume that we have a dev team and we have a QA team and also HR department are there. So specific to the department, to create a different groups under one subscriptions, we'll be having this particular subscription group. And you can have multiple resource groups under one subscription, but billing will be getting from this subscription. And under resource group only, you can create an individual resource. So individual resource means the service that you are going to create it. Okay, so that always the service will be present under the resource group. Okay, and resource groups will be present under one subscription. And to have this subscription, you should have one directory that is called the Azure Active Directory. Okay, so now it has been changed into Microsoft Entra ID. So if you have this, this is for the authentication purpose. Like it means that so you are the admin, so you can make others as an admin and you can try to control the user access and everything from using this particular Microsoft Entra ID. And also for your whatever the ID that you are going to have, that directory. So here from here where at the organization level, the different users access and everything will be monitored. So as of now, you don't need to go in depth, but you should have this basic understanding. So as I told already, subscription is for the billing purpose. So when you go, this is my subscription. So if you are having utilized any resources, that cost and everything you can check it under your subscription. Okay, and whenever we are like if this is active, until this service is active, you have to get, you will be keep getting the bill, but that bill will be generated only if you are utilizing the resources. If you are not utilizing these resources, you will be not getting the billing. So with this basic knowledge, whenever you wanted to create any site services, you can go here and you can search and you can try to create a service. If you are not finding that, you can go to create a resources, and here you will be getting different compartments to create the different resources. You can go ahead to the separate sections like analytics, blockchain, uh, infrastructure services, like that different services are there. So you can go to the whichever the service type you wanted to create and go ahead. So if not found here also, you can go to the marketplace. So under here, you can search. Let's assume I wanted to create a Azure AI search. So we can try to go into this particular AI search and we can try to get the different services over here. Okay. So this is at the basic level. So which you are all good to go ahead from the next sessions, which we are going to have. So from next session onwards, like I'll be start giving a small activities also, lab activities. So you can get started with that as well. So whatever today I had briefed, uh, so with this is how we are going to take it forward. Like first we are going to understand. So we'll be understanding about the basic concepts that I had, the key concept that I had used, like GPT models and LLM and Gen AI. So all the services, what exactly this services from the Azure perspective, I'm going to take most of the services, and then so how they are going to be implemented. After that, so the automation tools, so which are all we had discussed today, so how exactly we have to use this automation tool to test the models that we had been created by using the Azure services. Okay, so I'll stop it here for today.
Ma'am, can you please share the notes for reference?
Yes, I'll be sharing. Can we stop the recording?
Ma'am, you will be only covering Azure or also AWS?
AWS also I'll be covering, but yeah, first I'm going to cover all this concept from the Azure. So if time permits, if I'm having enough time, then only I'll be covering few from the AWS as well. Because this itself takes much time to understand these concepts, everything.
Ma'am, is there any project at the end of the training, like any kind of project or anything?
So I'll be giving you the assignments to work on, so that with that assignments, it is kind of you'll get the more exposure. Not I don't say that we are going to do the project. I
Yeah.
can
But
I'm
like
going.
after doing this course, like can we claim like we have worked on any project or while updating our CV?
That much
Can we,
knowledge you will be getting.
okay, so we can like have some project in our CV as well, right? I mean, kind of at least to show,
Yeah.
like, and if the interviewer asks that what we have done, so we'll be
See,
able to tell them, right?
so see how I'm going to, when I say the assignments, right? So what is the plan we are having? So we'll just take one reference, like example, reference services, we'll try to create it. So out of that, so I'll just ask you to write down all the functional scenarios, all the scenarios that you're going to use it for the testing purpose. So with that, you will start exploring on that, right? So in the same
Okay,
way,
okay.
so we can take the same thing. So we'll ask you to do the automation also. So at that time, what are the different challenges each one? So if you're going to share what is the different person's challenges, then itself you will be getting more. So different challenges you will start understanding, right?
Yeah, yeah. Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any queries or anything, you can text to me directly, so we can connect during our daytime. Okay, so we can connect
Sure,
back
sure.
in the next session during
Yeah.
on Monday.
Okay, sure, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.